Right. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, these still are a thing. It's interesting because I was considering, like, obviously I haven't done these in a while, right? Obviously I post when I film them. So, I had thought that I was going, and obviously I feel the need to explain, but part of it's the time, whatever. But it's interesting because like I'm back. Obviously, I the plan I think going forward obviously is to get to 250 now, not daily because daily puts too much pressure on me. I don't actually. I've never. I think I've done like 44 of these or 45 of these, and I still am not comfortable like talking into the camera. And just putting my thoughts out there. I think it's a privacy thing. It might be a sort of treating ideas as sacred, not being comfortable sharing stuff. I think there's also, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of possible causes as to why one might, one might not want to share. And I guess I'll just segue into kind of some of the stuff I want to talk about today. With one of the reasons, right? So one of the reasons that I'll be honest with you, right, is that when you're sort of talking, right, and you're talking in this format, right, there it's very indirect, the communication, right? So if I were talking with you, you were sitting across from me, I would have instantaneous feedback from you, right? I could talk and I could see whether I could observe your, whatever you gave off on your face. I could, sort of look and see how you're receiving me, how maybe I was receiving you, and it's I mean, to me, as far as I'm aware, that's how communication, sort of, was in the past before we had cameras, right? Assuming there was a time before that. And so that's sort of a natural way to communicate, right? This is a little unnatural because why is it a little unnatural? Because obviously, like, you never know, right? Like, who is actually watching this. I mean, obviously, I get the view count and stuff like that, but there's sort of this idea that, like, well, people could be possibly, well, and maybe this is my, I don't want to sound paranoid here, but it's interesting because, like, it's very unnatural because, like, imagine if someone does watch this, but I don't know about it. And it's sort of like, and not only do and even if they leave the view, on the view count of YouTube or whatever, right? I have no idea. And it's sort of like, I can speak, I can just sort of let out my thoughts, right? But I don't know how someone is going to react to them because I would rather just love to just talk, but it's not like that, right? Like the whole platform of YouTube is not set up like that. We talk about, it's interesting because obviously, like I said, I don't like to call out people because for this very reason, right? Because you never know, like, word gets out. I don't want to have any sort of gripes with, in other words, I don't want to have any what's the word, like beef, I guess. Can't think of another word. I don't want to have any beef with anyone, right? Like, I don't mean to have, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be whatever, but I don't like, calling out people I don't know, calling out people I don't have a relationship with, and, kind of like, unilaterally declaring something or insinuating something about someone that I don't really know, right? That's sort of the idea of, like, that's another thing, like, that I would call that a natural relationship. The natural relationship is to say, I'll talk to you directly, right? And that, and you don't get that with YouTube, and part of, there's sort of this idea of a platform, and the platform is designed to have an audience. You look at that with movies, you look at that with radio programs, etc., right? But it's, and I guess, it makes it very difficult, right? Like, it's sort of like, with the YouTube, there is this quasi sentiment of, I can connect with you, and you don't even know, like, if someone is connecting on a genuine level or not, right? And that's probably might be the fault of the viewer or the fault of the person making the videos. But there is this idea of, like, it's very unnatural. I don't imagine how you might say that it's natural because I don't think I don't think we're supposed to communicate like this. In other words, like, I don't think we're designed, whether you believe in a designer or whether you believe in whatever you believe in, I don't think whatever you believe in pre-YouTube, we're designed to do that, right? So that's interesting. But anyway, but I guess I guess that brings up another point, right? It's sort of like this idea, you hear this a lot in sort of mental illness circles, right? Why am I? No, I am interested in mental illness. I mean, whether you think I'm mentally or not, I don't really care. I mean, I don't really care about that part because I believe I'm fine. But whether you believe that is different than whether you believe whatever. The point is that this idea of thought broadcasting and this idea of like sort of mind reading, and it's very interesting to me because, to me, I think there's sort of two ways to look at it. There's, first of all, the way of, can someone actually get in your mind, right? Like, to me, when I think of this, I think of Professor X from the X-Men. The X-Men were also very naturalistic, right? They were the mutations. But I think that, so Professor X would be on the naturalistic side, by the way, right? Necessarily, I think he's, yeah. But anyway, but the point is that, Professor X could go into your mind. He could control your mind as well, right? So if someone can read your mind, someone can control your mind, etc., etc. And so you wonder about that. But you also think to yourself that there's the illusion of mind reading, based on, in other words, if someone sort of knew what, other facts about you, right? Observable facts about you probably indicate what your sort of mind is thinking. And that gets to another point of sort of like, well, the behavior that you give off is a pretty good indicator of what you're thinking most times, right? Like, so, and it begs the question of sort of like, how private are your thoughts, right? It's interesting. I don't know how, the question of the day, like, do you guys, because I know that people complain about sort of, they think their thoughts are being broadcast. And I think, to me, I would love to say there's a sort of naturalistic, not necessarily materialistic, but you can go there. There's a sort of naturalistic explanation for it that doesn't involve sort of, secret mind reading abilities. But that would be pretty cool, right? If it were a sort of secret mind reading abilities, it would be. I think that there are, to me, like, there's sort of natural causes. Like, for example, right? Like, let me give you, because I'm thinking about it right now. Like, for example, like, the idea to make this video probably came from things that I experienced, right? So that's maybe a product of extrovert. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that purely, but you can make that argument, right? I could see how you could do that. I think that I've already started the series. I've, done this, but certainly things give you the idea to do something. It seems to give you not only the idea to do something, but the impetus to actually act upon those ideas to do something, right? And so you sort of see that. But well, so the point is, what's the point? The point is that, like, I don't know. I'd be curious to know whether you guys think people can, like, sort of read your minds, and what what your experience has been with that. To me, like I said, I really do believe it's a matter of paying attention to someone's patterns of behavior. And if you can pay attention to someone's patterns of behavior, then you can probably get a good read on them. But it is interesting, and I guess the other two things I wanted to talk about is, which I have like a minute left. The ideas that I have are very succinctly stated. That's interesting. But the other thing I want to talk about is sort of predicting in general, right? Like, I think one of the call to actions I'll have is, to try to predict out my week, right? Remember last week we try to do like a new thing every day, whatever. It's this time going forward is, I'm going to try to, like, sort of plan out, because there's sort of predicting what will happen and then planning out either to sort of influence what will happen, or to to maybe just react to it, right? So I know this will happen, so therefore I'm gonna, so for example, like, bet on something or whatever, right? But so that's very interesting. That's obviously something that I'm not naturally good at. I imagine, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know how many people are good at that. I bet that is sort of a divide. I think that would be a dividing line. And finally, I guess in the last 20 seconds, I just want to say that, it's interesting because part of this has been a journey to sort of be able to eloquently speak my thoughts clearly and everything. But I just want to say, like, I know that I come off very self-righteous. it's something that I don't. This is one of the things I want to change about myself. I think I'm just not very comfortable, like in general, with people. I don't really know how to. I don't know how to interact with people. Whatever you may say about me in terms of my weaknesses. One of the weaknesses is also the ability to sort of interact with people on a sort of colloquial level. And I don't know if that's because I just don't have the sophistication that modern society calls for, or if it's just, my sort of, I'm too self-conscious. I don't know, but I'm not. I want to apologize for the self-righteousness, and anyone watching this who has I've come off self-righteous to. I want to just say, yeah, you're right. You're right. I do that, but I want to change it. So I'm aware of it. I'm aware that it's kind of iffy, and so yeah, I'm going to change it. Anyway, have a good weekend, guys. I will probably be back maybe middle of the next week. We'll try to we want to get to 250, so the year, I'll be making YouTube videos if if I go on this pace. But have a good one, guys, and yeah, thanks for watching.